Welcome to this recording I have today with Harry Derbitsky. Welcome, Harry.
Hi.
Hi. We have done 3 episodes now, and this time it's the 4th. So we met on this Zoom recording in December last year when we met the first time, and then we have continued to meet here on Zoom, and we continue to sharing about how things can change over time when it settles, the understanding settles a little. And Harry, you are a spiritual leader in the 3 principles movement, sharing Sydney Banks' teaching, learning, and I'm listen and I don't know if I try to live after what I see now more and more, and before I started recording today, we were talking about that I had been in a retreat this weekend, and someone in the room was feeling and sharing about her problems, and it was Steve Adar that had that retreat, and he was talking to her, and she was sharing about her problems. And as I told you, Harry, there wasn't about me, but something happened in the room, and I felt all the energy, and suddenly I started to cry, and I don't know why. I haven't asked myself about it either, because I don't know. And he wasn't talking to me, but in the room I just felt all the energy.
Yeah, as what we were talking about before, quite often, most times, whenever you hear truth, it comes through the back door. I mentioned to you that the problem with psychology is they're dealing through the front door and talking specifically about a problem. And then the person gets in their mind that they want to resolve the problem. That's okay, minor league stuff, but the real journey is our spiritual journey. And most of the insights that we experience once we've gone inside come through the back door. And your example is a typical example. You mentioned you weren't really listening that much to the conversation. That's why you heard, because you were listening, you were feeling, you caught the feeling of the conversation rather than the words. And the words really carry a message, but they pollute or dilute what we are actually hearing on an energy perspective. So when you were ready to hear something, and when your little mind relaxed and you stopped looking for getting something, you got something, and it impacted you. So that is a big lesson for the audience to start to try and get a hold of. You're not looking for front door answers. That's intellect. You don't want a strategy and a structure that tells you what you have to do. Once a curriculum is developed, it's already obsolete. Obviously, things are changing and growing and learning. So for you, it's really beneficial, because you're starting to understand that feelings are the change, the catalyst for change, not the words, and not the memorization or the rhetoric of 3 principles that is out there. We're all on an individual journey with God. It's really simple. my connection to God is different than your connection to God, and yet it's the same connection because you and I are connected together with God. So we're living in separate realities, but how we hear it's just amazing because we hear when we're ready, and we as teachers do not know what the student hears. That's the beauty of it. Sid didn't know what I heard all the time and stuff like that. One time I had a huge insight, and I decided I wasn't going to. Sid dropped over, and I didn't tell him. And he didn't pick it up. And then about 5 minutes after he left, he phoned me and says, Harry, I can't always figure it out, or see it, type of thing. So even he, with his enlightenment experience and his connection to God, could not see all the things when people hear. But you can feel a change. And when that change comes, you start to trust it. And it doesn't mean that your life is going to get better. It means that your life is going to change totally. Totally. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a transformation that allows us to experience our unlimited potential. We're all tired of being told by the world of who we are, what we are, and who we are. We're all tired of other people's opinion about ourselves. We know that's not true. We have much more to offer than that. But again, the way of the world is to have a small problem and then solve it. But the unlimited potential of the spirit means you're going to be surprised at what lays ahead. It's going to be a lot better. And I like to say, I am living a reality beyond my imagination, beyond what I dreamed about for myself. That's because spirit is a much bigger dreamer than I am. And spirit can see what is in my heart and what I need. So when people become successful financially, they usually say, I was surprised. And it's the same with truth. All the people, Sid was totally surprised by his enlightenment experience. He's still to this day, even though he's gone for 12 years, says it was a fluke. And he had no background to deserve all of that. But as we know, this great mystery unfolds. So I'd like to talk a little bit about what's happened since we last talked about, because my whole life is totally different, 100%. Everybody I'm dealing with, what I'm dealing with, etc. In the last show, I was the training director for of the addiction department of Back to the Fitra Mentoring Academy. And to be honest, it was sort of not really developing the way I had imagined, because I really saw that the Muslim community has a huge addiction problem. And I provided 5 or 6 or 8 solid cases of total healing, unlike probably anybody else has achieved in 3 principles. But the community wasn't ready to receive it, and the energy was kind of floundering in a way. And right in the middle of all of that, because I did what I was supposed to. You see, wherever you go, you have one rule, and that rule is to do your best. If you do your best, God is going to reward you. Isn't it obvious? And if you're going to you're going to live in sin and desires, etc., God is going to have to punish you. That's the way it works. So I shared, loved helping the people, loved working with the people. And in fact, we're going to do a conference in June, with Back to the Fitra. And it will be an addiction conference for the Muslim community. But right in the middle of all of that, where I had been dedicating myself for a year, all of a sudden, I on Facebook, Mugisha from Uganda, from a Nakiville refugee camp, contacts me. And we start talking, just chatting with text. And all of a sudden, we have a connection. Something like the connection you had at that conference. It doesn't make sense that you should hear anything so broad and deep, except it happened. And we made a connection, and before we knew it, he had invited me in to teach at his school. He has a school, and his story was amazing. He's 25 years old, and he came from the French Congo, because the French Congo has wars and stuff like that. And he came to Nakiville refugee camp, and he couldn't speak English. And he learned, and he saw a guy who was building bricks. He says, I'll help you build bricks and build houses if you teach me English. So he learned English and bricks, and then he ended up building a school. And in the school has 500 students and 15 teachers, of which he teaches English. And from that, the rest of the community, projects working with orphans and divorced and disabilities, Phillips from the Healing Circle, who works with the men in the healing circles, Iraji, who works at Rotondo, also in Nakiville with a 3,000 people village, going around teaching kids. Well, we got some money for him so he could have benches, so the kids could sit on benches even, because of course it was all outdoors and stuff like that. And then New Talent for Back to the Future, and then another community, and now another international organization. All these people came because of Mugisha. And right in the middle, with him being sort of the leader and the reason for all the stuff, he asked me, he says, well, I need $250 for, I've got 1,500 books in Kampala, which is the main city, which is about 200 kilometers from Nakiville. And I need to get the books to here so I can build a library for the school. It's a dream of his. And so I arranged for that, and he goes and he gets killed. Head-on crash, and he's dead. And it's this huge, unbelievable event for the Nakiville. Nakiville has about 120,000 people in their refugee camp. And I'm working with Kenya, over 200,000 people. We're talking about the biggest 3P project ever. And so he gets killed, and people start messaging me. I get so well known. Everybody knows that I have this relationship with Mugisha, and just hundreds and hundreds of people started contacting me and showing me videos of the funeral and stuff. And it just led to even more energy in a way, but at the same time, we dedicated our services to his dream, which was to bring the 3 principles into the school and into his community, his base camp. Nakiville has 3 major areas and about 80 villages. It's a complicated picture, but and so this impossible dream of teaching. And then I brought in 3 mentors from Back to the Fitra, Muslim. Get this, Muslim women teaching Christian men. All the students, 98% are men, and they're all Christian. And there's no conflict because everybody understands the feeling of God. It's really universal. And they have taken to the principles unlike anybody I have met in 3P history. They have a strong, alive feeling of God, the Christian God. It's different than the North American. In North America, all they talk about is Jesus Christ. They don't talk about Jesus Christ. They talk about God, the principle of God. And you got to remember that universal mind is just a psychological word for God. So it's just a different word, and when I went to work with the indigenous people, which probably explains how I'm in Africa, Sid said, don't use mind, thought, and consciousness, use spirit, thought, and consciousness. They don't understand mind. That's a psychological word. They understand spirit. So you use the language. And so they have grasped it. You talk to most of them, and within 15 minutes, they've got the principles. It's just amazing. They're just so they already understand the principles. They understand that the God within and the happiness within is the same thing. We, the white people, the dry toast crowd, we're analyzing and breaking it down and doing all this stuff. We don't have the feeling. They have the feeling that God is alive in them and that you have total faith in God providing everything you need. And once they recognize, so I don't talk about mind, I talk about God, which is strange for me. I'm not a religious man, but that's the language, and they grasp it so easily. And then once they recognize that we're talking about the same feeling, which they have in spades, then I say, and you have to understand the role of thought. And again, it's explained in a simple way, not this convoluted way that a lot of the white people like to receive it, the intellectual approach to truth. I just simply say, use Sid's metaphor that thought is like a paintbrush. And if you dip in the paint black and you paint it on the canvas, what are you going to see? Black. And I say, that's the way thought works. If you paint black, you walk away from God. And if you paint a different color, you walk towards God. So you bring it right back to God. You don't bring it into psychological scenarios of stuff like that. But they want answers to trauma. I mean, here's an example. This 66-year-old man 10 years ago lived in the French Congo. He had 45 cows, had a beautiful family of 8 kids, and had a very happy life. And then naturally, racial prejudice broke out. The French Congo is the richest country in resources, I think, in the world, and yet all they have is war, fighting, man with his stupidity. And so a different tribe says, no, we're better than you are. So they took his 45 cows, burnt all his house and all the relatives' house, and then took the brother and chopped him up into little pieces. At which point he got scared, naturally, took his family, and for 2 weeks went through the mountains and the bushes until he came to a church, which gave him a little bit of money to go to Nakiville refugee camp, of which he's been living in for 10 years. Type of thing. That's a normal story. These people know about God. They know they want to be happy. And when you tell them, if you don't paint the color black, you're not going to feel black. They pick it up just like that. And it's just been so reassuring to see all of a sudden there's this field, these culture, these people that I can relate to. I can laugh, I can share feelings, and they understand what I'm talking about. And I don't let them, they all want to call me Sir Harry or Mr. Harry. And I say, no, Harry, only Harry. I don't like that other, no titles and stuff like that. And then you start, and they have like about 30 organizations or 50 organizations all working apart from each other, all volunteer and all this stuff to help the kids and help everyone. Of course, they're making a massive $5 a month. So you can see they're really rich, with stuff. And of course, their question is, can you be happy without money or with all this trauma and stuff like that? And from a 3 principles perspective, it's really easy. But I give them this question, and this one always, I'm going to use Canada, but you could easily substitute Sweden in this story. in Canada, we have lots of money, lots of houses, lots of cars, lots of food, lots of clothes, but we're not happy. How come? And one of them says, well, how could that be? And then he says, oh, I see. It's thought. And that's the truth of mankind. We're spoiled rotten. We have everything and they have nothing. And they're ahead of us. But we don't think so because we want the money. But it doesn't make any difference to God. Pretty cool story, eh?
Yeah. But I saw that with things when I was in a depression, when I was staying at the hospital, and I was lying there in the bed and I thought, I don't need anything here. None things matters to me when I was lying there in the bed.
Yeah, and that's how, and that's why the principles are so valuable, because it gives you not only hope, but where to go to for the light. And they're in the same boat. They're not in the bed, but they're in the same boat that you were in,
Yeah.
thinking that stuff. And when you come in and show them an ultimate answer to that dilemma, here's a saying one of them came up with. It's just precious. Happiness is free. It's so precious. It's everything costs money, but happiness and love doesn't cost money. It's free. God gives it to us for free. Mankind, no, doesn't want it. It's free. We know it's free. It's free.
So how saw you
one
with
day
the...
you came out from the bed and saw, oh, maybe I'll try happiness now.
So how did you see the children then? How did they feel? Because here in Sweden there are many children, they aren't happy.
They're not happy. It's because
No, but how was it there?
well, the kids, first of all, you have to understand, adults teach kids about stress and unhappiness. Kids are naturally happy. You know, they go out of it, but they come back very quickly into it. So the kids are playing and stuff. So they don't have the toys that the kids have in Sweden, but you know, if they have, they have the same youthful energy and laughter and lightheartedness that all kids possess. But the adults teach them about seriousness, about the intellect. And so the kids start to take this story into their head and become more serious, etc., and more affected by it. Example, my dad had who was a really, really kind, gentle man, had a vicious temper. I grew up thinking temper was normal. Where did I learn it from? My dad. And then one day I had an insight and I realized everything I'm thinking when I have my temper, that I think I am 100% right, by the way, is 100% a lie. I am lying 100, I'm wrong 100%. And when I saw that, 90% of my temper went away, my anger. It doesn't mean I don't get angry, but it's just not my normal habit anymore. We teach our kids to be stressed. In my daughter's grade 2 class, I was teaching them about thought and through a story and stuff. And I said to the grade 2, and they're from like 12 countries. Canada is very multicultural, and the most successful country in the world, by the way, in multiculturalism, by far. And so I said to the kids, what is stress? 24 kids, not one of the kids knew what stress is, but they all knew their parents had a lot of it. And I looked at my daughter and suddenly realized they don't know what stress is, and then And then I went, after that, I was teaching at an addiction center. And one of the guys who was there was really in a bummed out mood. And he said, yeah, they don't know about it, but they still have it. And I said, yeah, but they let go of it in a couple of minutes and you hold on to it for 2 weeks. And he turned to me and says, yeah, that's right. See, it's just a habit. We have habitual patterns of thought. If we teach our kids that, they become that. That's the culture. Why are Danish people quieter on the outside than Canadians? It's a culture.
We take life so serious when we get adult.
We have, with the 3 principles, you're free to be whoever you are. If you're a talkative person, you talk. If you're a quiet person, you're quiet. Not all the time, of course, but if you're a creative person in art, you become an artist. If you're a creative person and an engineer, you build a bridge. It's just we're here to find our talents and our gifts to share, to make ourselves happy and to make the world happy, to make it a better place. What's the point if just you're happy and the world doesn't become a better place? It doesn't make any sense. But automatically, spiritually, if you're happy, it will spread like a domino effect. And so I come into this Nackiville refugee camp with innocent eyes. I thought one area, one school, it wasn't anything like I imagined. But now I'm bringing people together. And
you have been away for a while, haven't you?
No, it's all done through the internet.
Aha.
Oh, no, nothing is done. Human.
I thought you were there.
Oh, no. I just, every day I'm there. 3 meetings every day.
So how do you see about that? Because we were talking about in the retreat, the difference to be in a retreat and meeting people with that energy, or the energy in Zoom room. How do you see? I see
it's a mute question. You deal with what's in front of you. If the only way you can meet is through Zoom, you work. Listen to this. I'm in Nackiville. They have an unstable interconnection. 80% of it is just audio only. It's like old-fashioned communication. When we have a stable connection, often it goes off and then they have to come back and stuff. You deal with what's in front of you. The most fun is person to person, but it's inefficient. Because you have to travel, you have to get together and stuff. With the internet, it's just, I can talk to people all over the world. I have clients all over the world, in every continent in the world. And I haven't seen them. I worked with Greg Suki on addiction, alcoholism, and 3 principles for 3 years. I never met him. I'm working with Omar Ben Mosa with Tawhid and the spiritual unity of the 3 principles. I'm finishing that off. He's going to continue it, but we've never met. You deal with what life and God brings to you. You don't say the optimum is this. You deal with what life brings. And if you're smart, you adapt. So when the audio, at first it was weird. Where's the face? Can't even see the face. All you hear is the voice, and even that's cracking up. And so you just deal with what is, and as you start to work with it, it gets the more and more positive energy that's released, the more love is shared. It's all about love, and that's the idea. So we have never met. Is this bad?
No.
Have you
but
learned
I love to see you and look in your eyes.
Yeah, well, it's nice. But when, quite often I have said this, I said this yesterday to Dave Banks, who's Sid's son. I shouldn't mention his name, but I did already. So I said to him, in my opinion, the reason I'm so successful now is because if people met me, they wouldn't be as impressed with me as they are when they meet me over Zoom. You don't get to know the person, the bad jokes. You say, oh, they're funny, but the teasing, the little things that a human being does, you may not like them. And I'm very blunt in the way I express things. So that people say, oh, no, it's supposed to be sugar. It's supposed to be sweet to be positive. And I go, no, it's got to be honest to be truthful. It can't be sweet all the time, but some people will totally disagree with that with me. And I have strong opinions about things and so on. So I actually feel I'm much more effective here like this. And if you meet me, you might not even like me.
But are you feeling that in the field of the three principles community, people you meet in these communities, or it's just every people you meet?
I'm not deeply impressed with the 3P community.
No.
There are some natural leaders in there, not all the ones that are recognized, by the way, type of thing. It's an establishment. It's a level of consciousness. There is only one teacher, Sid. All the rest of us are students of Sid. And there's only one person speaking the deeper dimension of thought, Sid. And we tap in and out of that type of sharing. I'm very proud of what I know and what I teach. And I know it's different than what most of the people in 3P are teaching. They don't like that. They don't like them because the psychological community is teaching a scientific approach to the principles. And it is science, but it's also mystical. And I teach about the mystical side of the principles. How can I possibly teach about the psychological principles? I've never even taken a psychology course. I'm a pipe carrier in the indigenous world. Surely I know something about the mystical side of life. That's where my training is. And yeah, I'm a student of Sydney Banks. So what did that bring me? It brought me to understand, thank goodness there's Sydney Banks, because if the world was only operating at the level I understand it, it was going to be a mess for sure. Thank goodness there's more than what I understand. I love that. It's freedom, total freedom to know that Sid's level is deeper than my level. And I don't have to pretend I'm the big guru, the big boss, the big kahuna. I'm just Harry, just an ordinary guy.
But I remember I was listening to, I think Dave Banks said in a webinar that Sid was listened to spiritual leaders.
Well,
maybe before he.
Who cares what he says? You care about what the truth is for you. Who cares what anybody says?
But do you listen to spiritual leaders?
No, I don't listen to anybody because they all bore me. But I read like right now. I read a book by Don Miguel Ruiz, a Mexican Toltec, wise, enlightened human being, and he taught me something about separate realities that I didn't pick up from Sid. Sid taught it perfectly, but I didn't pick it up fully. So yeah, you want to connect like I'm teaching now in a Christian organization or country, and I'm a Jew. I'm teaching in the Muslim organization. Jews and Muslims don't get along, no problem. So obviously I understand something that the world doesn't understand. And when you connect, whether people use God or Allah, it means they're coming at it from a different angle. There's only one truth, but there's all these different angles. And you want to find the angles that make sense to you and your mind. So Sid talked a lot about separate realities, but Don Miguel Ruiz gave a metaphor that explained it to me deeper. Of course, I respect both. And, you know, and the beautiful thing about Sid is it's endless what you can learn. Endless. But
I see true like feeling.
You want to connect all the science and the philosophy and the psychology, and you know, like here, I teach that the three principles is a spiritual psychology. How do they connect together? Explain it to me.
How do you mean?
I just mean explain it to me. I'm asking you a question. How does the spiritual and psychological worlds become one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
You might live it.
Yeah, I live a spiritual experience.
And a psychological experience.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah. And then I know about the true in the feeling.
Well, there's your answer. There's the way you explain it. It's in a feeling.
Yeah.
And then they
And I can
are
see that
one.
how I can walk in life. Will I go here or will I go here? Or it's like I can navigate in the feeling. What's true for me.
That's all you have to know. Trust your feelings.
Yeah, and I think I do that more and more. Not always, but I feel like I connect with the feeling more and more, and also feel others more.
Yeah. Well, obviously that's unity. If you feel others more, that's unity. You're seeing the one, you're feeling the oneness.
Yeah.
And that's what Sid, that's the three principles, oneness.
Mm.
But they don't talk about it psychologically because psychological is separation. Mind, thought, and consciousness. And spiritual is just God. Oh, no, excuse me, mind. No, excuse me, Allah. Oh, excuse me, Great Spirit. Oh, excuse me, peace of mind. Oh, excuse me, the happiness within. What? They're all the same thing. Excuse me, I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, welcome to the club.
The mystical.
Mystical, exactly.
Unknown.
Unknown, mysterious.
I had a mystical experience for 2 weeks ago. I was very stressed when I came out, and I don't go to many webinars nowadays, but I did that evening, and I was in very stressed, and I felt like, I don't know if I'm going to listen to this, but I sit here and I listen. And they were talking and talking, and I was listening, and then I get tired. And they said, you can close your eyes now. We had a short like meditation, and I was doing that, and suddenly I felt like my body was leaving me.
Yeah, that's good.
And I can only express it in that it was a feeling. I don't know where I was or anything. It's just a feeling of my body was leaving. And I heard them say, you can open your eyes, but I couldn't, because it was so nice.
Yeah, there you have the answer, if you can see it.
but I never experienced that.
That feeling you're talking about is where all healing is. See, when people hear the word healing, they think, well, you're an alcoholic, so you need to be healed. Or, or if you're AA, you need to cope, but that's a different story. But healing, so that healing is found in that space. So every time we enter into it, we are healed. It's God healing our soul. Of course, it's just an illusion. You're already healed. It's just you think you're not healed, so you're not healed. But the reality is that you are healed. And when you experience truth like you experience, there's no explanation. It's like when a person is up, like my mother-in-law was on her deathbed in the hospital, and she came back from death. She said, I died, but they said I had to come back. She wasn't the same person anymore. It's exactly the same experience you had. It's just a different description of it.
But I don't know if I'm the same.
No, you're not the same. You have a deeper understanding of what healing is. Yes, it might take you 10 years to figure it out. I agree with that. That's the way we are as human beings and thinkers. I had a deep, huge spiritual experience on Salt Spring Island. I didn't really experience the fullness of it. And even then, when I say it, I know I'm lying. Until I was 69 years old, and yet at 27 on Salt Spring, I had the experience. What was I doing in these other 42 years? I just simply didn't see it. I saw it, I experienced it, but I thought psychological, and I thought, and I had opinions and ideas, and got insecure and scared and all this type of stuff. And I had a good time at the same time uncovering this mystery. Really good time. I had a great story.
Because you feel both. I have had those experiences now when I get a deeper understanding, but I also have moments with anxiety and anger, and it's like going in and out all the time.
Yeah, but it's just you don't understand enough. That's all. You just don't understand enough. Once you see it, you'll see it's no big deal. Anxiety is a man-made interpretation of the truth. You're interpreting your own well-being through the filter of your thoughts.
But I can see through it faster. So that's why I say I go in and out more faster. That's the power of that's why it says if you get a glimpse, you get a lot, because you notice that you don't stay down for so long. In fact, you quickly, as your level goes up, that's all higher levels is dropping insecurity and fear quickly instead of sitting in it. We let the thought go by rather than try to hold on to it. The lower levels are more intellectual, and they hold on to their experiences and analyze them. When you realize that's exactly the wrong thing to do, you don't do it anymore, or less and less, and it proves itself. See, truth proves itself to you, not to other people, to you. It has to prove itself to you, or else it's no good. And I know that I have a much more deeper understanding, but I can't see myself from the outside and in.
No.
So I don't know how people how they see
I can guarantee you they don't see you the way you see you. Let me tell you this story that Don Miguel Ruiz revealed to me about separate realities. Cecilia, imagine you're going to the movie theater, and you go into theater, there's only one person sitting right at the front. You sit down beside this person and you watch the movie and you notice it's a movie about you. And you notice the person next to you is you. And you're seeing your perception of you and your experiences and so on. And you, after a while, let's say you watch it for 2 hours, you decide to go out of the theater and you go to a different theater. And in the theater is your mother. And you sit down next to her and you notice the first thing is you're a secondary character in the movie. The other movie, you were the star. But in this movie, you're just a second. And then you notice she's saying things about what a different situations, totally different than what you are saying. The story that she is telling herself through her thoughts and through her head. And then you notice she comes to you and you go, how dare you? How could you possibly think that about me like that? And then you go to out of that theater and you go in and there's your husband. And again, you notice you're a secondary character in the movie and you see yourself and other things and you notice that he is sing it totally different than the way you are singing. And then after going through your friends and different things, you go back to the first theater and you watch the movie that you see, but you don't trust it as much anymore because you know other people have different ideas, that everybody's story is centered around themselves, not you. Your story is centered around you. My story is centered around yours truly, me. And you notice everybody's creating us. After that, you don't have to worry what other people are thinking about you because they're just got a story that's bullshit anyway. Isn't that a cool metaphor?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I loved it. I just loved it. I learned so much from it. Because I keep, that's what the world says, be like me. Can't you understand think like me? Don't think differently. But the role of thought is automatically you have free will to think whatever you want. Sid's teaching. And what do you think? Differently than I do. Thus creating separate realities. And you just don't care what other people think. They're all full of it because they're telling you their version of their story, which is centered around them. And they get upset. They take it personally. And that's one of his teachings. Don't take anything personally. But we're all creating this story in our head. Right now, you're creating a story around me. You even said, if I met you in real life, it would be so different. You are meeting me in real life. It's just through this.
I just asked you if you thought it was different.
Yeah, I know you did, but what the implication. Yeah, that's right. So there's no sense getting upset when people gossip about you or talk negatively about you. Yet, a lot of people get really upset about that because they've been following what other people are talking about them and trying to fit into persuade them that they're actually a good person. Of course, the answer is you are automatically a good person. You have love in your heart, except for your thinking. So the boogeyman is thinking, and the savior is thinking because it's just one thought away, according to Sid. So
don't you think everyone needs to listen a little bit to other people's thought about them? You can't
you have no choice. We are social animals.
Yeah.
I didn't say you shouldn't listen to people. You just don't have to be injured by what they're thinking. Of course, we listen to other people, and we know we listen for a feeling, not for what they're talking about.
No.
But the if you and I are one, let's suppose you and I are one. Of course, I'm going to listen to you. You're me. I'm very interested in me.
Yeah.
Very interested. And you are a mirror reflection of me. you are telling me something about me that I need to hear, or God would not be presenting it. This right now, God is presenting us to learn, to listen to each other and learn from
Do
each
you
other.
feel that you can listen to everyone?
Well, I can listen to anyone if I'm in the mood to listen to them. But if I'm not in the mood to listen to bullshit, I'll walk away. I'm not here, Sid had a phrase. I love this phrase, pearls to swine. And he said, but another way of saying it is no sense wasting your time talking to a blithering idiot. And there's a lot of blithering idiots out there.
Mhm.
But I don't want to judge people, they're all teaching us something about something. But as you know, if you follow bullshit, don't blame God. I mean, look at the three principles, pure truth. How many people in the world are listening to them? And how many people are living them? And how many people, isn't it obvious that we have the truth about the spiritual psychological connection? Isn't it obvious that the three principles are going to save humanity? But humanity has to listen. And they don't want to. They'd rather fight. They like wars, hunger. They like having the money. The rich want more money. You know how much money there is in the world? Give me a break. If the strong help the weak, how long would it take for the world to heal itself? That's God's way. The strong helps the weak. Man's way is strong takes from the weak. They're just wrong. They have wrong values. And they're so proud of themselves. Oh, humans, oh.
But it's like the sunglasses we talk about sometimes, or the glasses. We see what we see.
I understand that, but when you're spoiled, you're spoiled. See, when I work in Uganda, the first thing I come away with, Canadians have everything and they don't appreciate any of it. They're spoiled and they complain about everything. I want more. Why is this so difficult? It's not difficult. What it is, you're spoiled. You ever see a spoiled kid? You can never give them too much. They always want more.
But it's like they learn a misunderstanding.
Yeah, of course.
That's why they can't see. I can't see sometimes.
Yeah. I call it out of balance.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And I don't mean to be critical because, of course, I know about out of balance because I am out of balance as well from time to time. Every day I'm out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have negative thoughts? Yeah. Do I hold on to them? Hopefully as little as possible. But other people, they hold on to them. One time with an Indigenous woman, she asked me, what is worry? I says, worry is nothing. See this? That's a thought. And you hold on to the thought. And you hold on to the thought. And you hold on to the thought. So she says, what's the answer? I says, isn't it obvious? Let go of the thought. Man isn't letting go of the thought. He's holding on to war. And he makes a whole world of why war is good. The Jewish people killing Palestinians. They have a whole repertoire of explanation to it. And of course, the Muslim world towards the Jewish. They have a whole explanation around it, type of thing. But it's not God's way. Rabbi Shaul Rosenblatt said something very profound. If there's prejudice, there's no God. And there's a lot of prejudice in the world. No God. But the beautiful thing is, you're not prejudiced, so you have God in your heart. Isn't that lucky?
Mm.
You have definitely got God in your heart. And you can feel it. And you talked about those feelings. And you have to say thank you.
Thank
And you
you.
do. And one of the ways you say thank you is doing this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something have brought me to do that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. It
So,
comes.
so it sounds like that's a pretty good show, eh?
Yeah.
You know, and listen, people, you don't have to listen to me and what I say, a big blowhard like me. Find the truth for yourself. Find what's true. What works for you is truth for you. 3 principles from as taught by Sydney Banks connects the spiritual and psychological world into one. It answers every question on in the face of the earth. When Sid wrote in his book, Mind plus Principle of Mind, not personal mind, principle of consciousness plus principle of thought equals reality, he meant in totality. How the invisible becomes visible. How God uses these 3 tools to create heaven here on earth. And how we use the 3 tools to create hell on earth.
Mm.
And the beautiful thing is, everything is forgiven every second of every moment by God, because all there is now.
Mm.
So forget about the past and the future. Just get into a nice feeling. And listen to Cecilia, and she'll lead you to the garden path. She'll
And
lead you
Harry.
to yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
thank you so much, Harry.
my pleasure.
A
We've had a
lovely
lot of fun.
Yeah,
in-
it's fun. It's fun
Yeah.
to do this. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love to. And if you want to come back, you come.
Okay, thank you very much. I wonder what I'll be doing next time. It seems like
We don't know where you're going.
Well-
From home, from Zoom or your telephone.
that's it.
And I don't know where I'm going, but
No, it's okay.
we keep in touch.
Yeah, but I can tell people it's beyond your imagination and expectation. Beyond your dreams is what waits for you when you tap into the unlimited potential of who you are. Beyond anything you can imagine. And the funny thing is, the only rule is to be comfortable with the transformation. Stop thinking about it and just do it. So with those sweet words, we'll talk to you soon. I'm off to play tennis.
Go ahead, have fun.
Okay, the sun is out and it hasn't been out that much in Vancouver, so I'm going to have a good time. See you then, sweetie.
See you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.